The internet is on fire tonight, feeds exploding, comments flooding in, timelines going absolutely wild. What started as a simple, emotional announcement from Shekinah has turned into one of the most chaotic rumor storms the industry has seen in months. Within minutes, fans began connecting dots that weren't even there, dragging old drama back into the spotlight and creating a narrative so intense that even people who had nothing to do with the situation are suddenly at the center of the chaos. And right in the middle of this digital tornado stands Tiny Harris, angry, blindsided, and done with the internet's obsession with twisting every moment into a scandal. As Shekinah shared her shocking update, the online world instantly turned its attention toward Tiny and T.I., forcing them into a conversation they never asked to be part of. Screenshots started spreading. Speculation took off like wildfire. People started reading between lines that didn't exist, spinning theories faster than anyone could debunk them. But here's the real twist. Tiny's reaction, raw, emotional, and explosive, has only made the mystery deeper. What exactly pushed her over the edge? And why did fans connect Shekinah's announcement to T.I. in the first place? Let's break it all down. The moment Shekinah's announcement hit the internet, everything changed. 1 second it was a routine day filled with the usual celebrity updates, and the next, timelines erupted like a pressure cooker finally blowing its lid. Shekinah, emotional and teary-eyed, shared news that should have been personal, intimate, and celebrated. She was expecting. Her voice cracked, her hands trembled, and for a brief moment, the world paused to embrace her joy. But the internet never stays gentle for long. Within minutes, comment sections turned into a wildfire of assumptions. Fans started digging, comparing timelines, stitching together old clips, bringing up years-old interviews, and twisting every detail into something messy, bigger, and louder than the announcement itself. Before Shekinah even had time to breathe, her personal news was hijacked by speculations that had nothing to do with reality. And somehow, because the internet loves chaos, T.I.'s name got dragged into it. People began creating theories out of thin air, connecting dots that weren't even in the same picture. One innocent announcement became the internet's newest conspiracy, and the one person who found herself dragged into this storm against her will was Tiny Harris. For years, Tiny has been the kind of woman who carries herself with strength, humor, and a fierce loyalty to the people she loves. She's been through highs, lows, betrayals, reconciliations, and public narratives that would crush most people. But she always came back stronger, always found a way to keep her family above the noise. She knows how the internet works. She knows how quickly rumors can spread. And she knows how easily people who have absolutely no idea about her personal life suddenly behave like experts. But this time, something was different. When she saw the comments, the edits, the bold accusations typed with absolute confidence by strangers who didn't know anything beyond what they imagined, something in her snapped. It wasn't just the rumor. It wasn't just the disrespect. It was the fact that a moment meant to celebrate new life was twisted into a scandal, with her husband's name plastered all over it. And Tiny felt it. Deeply. People close to her say she was scrolling through her phone, disbelief turning into frustration, frustration turning into anger. It wasn't Shekinah's announcement that bothered her. Tiny has always had a complicated but emotional history with her. It was the internet's obsession with dragging her family into drama they didn't create. It was old wounds being poked by people who didn't even know the full story. It was the exhaustion of constantly being pulled into narratives that have nothing to do with the reality she lives every day. And behind all of this, a quiet tension began brewing. Shekinah and Tiny have a long, tangled friendship, filled with love, hurt, loyalty, misunderstandings, and moments that the public has only ever seen snippets of. Their bond has survived more than most friendships could ever handle, and yet, the smallest spark between them always seems to ignite discussions online. People follow their dynamic like it's a show. Every look, every shade, every emotional moment turned into a storyline. So when Shekinah shared her news, and the internet chose to twist it into something else entirely, fans immediately wondered how Tiny would react. Would she be supportive? Would she distance herself? Would she stay silent? That question, just that question, created enough tension to fill entire comment sections. And then the foreshadowing began. Old clips of Tiny looking stressed resurfaced. Snippets of Shekinah crying on live streams made a comeback. Edits of T.I. staring blankly in interviews were suddenly captioned with dramatic music. People were stitching together old drama, acting as if it had all been leading to this moment. As if the internet itself had been waiting for a trigger to revisit every unresolved rumor from the past decade. Tiny sensed it. The shift. The pressure. The way people were framing her husband, her marriage, her role, her silence. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't just feel annoyed, she felt disrespected, pushed, cornered. And if there's one thing Tiny Harris does not tolerate, it's people rewriting her life without knowing the truth. Something inside her was stirring, rising, preparing to respond. And the world could feel it. The moment everything spiraled was not during Shekinah's announcement, it was what happened afterward. The internet, hungry for chaos, began circulating screenshots. At first glance, they looked real, blurry text bubbles, cropped names, vague timestamps. One of the messages said, "I think you already know who the daddy is." Another read, "Tiny gonna lose it when this gets out." None of these messages were verified, none were from the people involved, but that didn't stop them from spreading like wildfire. Within an hour, TikTok had turned these fan-made leaks into full-blown dramatic reenactments. In one popular edit, someone pretending to be Shekinah whispered, "I didn't want this to happen like this," while another voice replied, "He told me not to say anything." The video got millions of views before anyone even realized it wasn't real. And that's when Tiny saw it. People close to her say she was sitting in her living room, scrolling through clips that grew worse with every swipe. There was one that hit her the hardest, a fan-dubbed audio clip over slow zoom of Shekinah wiping tears. The caption read, "She finally exposed him." Tiny stared at the screen, jaw tight, breath shallow. She already knew the internet made up stories. But to drag her marriage into someone else's moment? To twist her husband's name into a rumor he had nothing to do with? That crossed a line. She threw her phone onto the couch and pressed her palms to her face. "Here we go again," she muttered under her breath. It wasn't anger alone, it was exhaustion. She had lived through enough scandals, real and imagined, to last a lifetime. But this one felt personal, like the world was stealing her peace and turning it into entertainment. Meanwhile, another alleged leak began circulating, this one a voice note. It sounded like Shekinah, emotional, saying, "I didn't mean for it to get this far." But the audio was from an old livestream where she was crying about an unrelated argument. Still, edited and repackaged, it fit the internet's narrative too perfectly. And people believed it. Tiny's phone buzzed non-stop, friends checking in, fans tagging her, bloggers asking for statements. She ignored all of it until one message popped up from someone she trusted, "You need to see this." Attached was a screen recording of a Twitter space where hundreds of people were discussing the rumor as if it were fact. One voice said, "Tiny must be devastated." Another claimed, "She's been quiet for a reason." That's when Tiny snapped. She picked up her phone, opened her voice recorder, and unleashed the frustration she'd held in for months. "You'll really need to stop playing with my family," she said, voice trembling, not from fear, but from fury. "Every time somebody says something, you'll drag us into it like we're characters in your little show. Leave us out of this mess. Ain't nobody got time for these lies." She didn't name names. She didn't call anyone out. But the message was clear, and the internet felt it. A few minutes later, Shekinah went live, tears running down her cheeks. Her voice cracked as she said, "I didn't say what you'll think I said. Stop twisting my words." She looked hurt, overwhelmed, tired of being misunderstood. But the comments scrolling past her were chaotic, some supporting her, others demanding explanations she couldn't give. The tension between the two women, intentional or not, became the new center of the storm. One clip from her livestream went viral instantly, Shekinah whispering, "I didn't want her to find out like this." She was talking about a completely different topic, but the internet clipped it, cropped it, and captioned it, "She's talking about Tiny." Tiny saw that clip too. She sank back into the couch, shaking her head with a hollow laugh. "They're really gonna make a movie out of nothing," she whispered. And yet, deep inside her, a part of her wondered. Had Shekinah known the rumors would explode? Had she anticipated the chaos? Or was she just as blindsided as Tiny was? The questions lingered, heavy, unresolved. The storm hadn't reached its peak yet. But everyone could feel the pressure rising. By the next morning, the fallout had become impossible to ignore. What began as one emotional announcement had spiraled into a full-blown internet storm with millions of opinions, theories, and reaction videos swirling across every platform. The comments were louder, harsher, more intrusive. People who had no connection to the situation were speaking like insiders, repeating rumors as if they were facts. The energy online was electric, dangerous, chaotic, like a crowd gathering before anyone even knows what happened. Tiny couldn't escape it. Everywhere she looked, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, her name was being dragged into conversations she never agreed to join. Bloggers added fuel to the fire by posting split-screen thumbnails of her and Shekinah, plastered with captions like "Tension explodes" and "The truth comes out." Even though none of them knew the real story, the drama was too tempting to resist. One video hit Tiny harder than the rest. A TikTok creator pieced together clips of Shekinah crying on her livestream, old footage of Tiny looking stressed, and a random shot of T.I. walking into a studio, all edited with suspenseful music. The caption read, "You can't tell me this isn't connected." And the comments were even worse. She knew. Tiny's too quiet. Something definitely went down behind the scenes. She felt her chest tighten as she scrolled. It wasn't just the rumors, it was the way the world was painting her as a character in a script she never wrote. Meanwhile, Shekinah was facing her own avalanche of judgment. People accused her of stirring drama intentionally, of using her announcement for clout, of sending shots at Tiny without saying her name. She denied all of it, but no matter how many times she tried to clear the air, no one listened. The narrative was stronger than her voice. By midday, she went live again, her eyes swollen from crying. "You all want me to fight somebody I'm not fighting," she said softly. "I didn't drag nobody into this." Her voice broke as thousands of comments flooded the screen, some supportive, others vicious. Someone typed, "So why was Tiny so mad?" Another wrote, "You knew what you were doing." As the comments grew faster, she pressed a hand to her forehead, trying to steady her breathing. "I didn't mean for any of this," she whispered. "I'm dealing with enough already. Please stop making it worse." But the internet doesn't stop. Tiny watched the livestream replay later that afternoon. She sighed, feeling a mix of frustration and sadness. She knew Shekinah was overwhelmed. She also knew the two of them had a complicated history, filled with messy moments, emotional blow-ups, and years of friendship that had stretched thin under the pressure of fame. This situation wasn't her doing, but at the same time, she couldn't deny the sting she felt seeing her own name dragged into it. Late that evening, Tiny sat alone on her back porch, the sky slowly darkening around her. The air felt heavy, thick with everything left unsaid. She opened her phone and typed a message to someone she hadn't talked to in months. "We need to talk," she wrote. Her thumb hovered over the send button. She hesitated, breath shaky, then finally tapped it. Message delivered. On the other side of the city, Shekinah's phone buzzed. Her eyes widened when she saw Tiny's name on the screen. She stared at the message for a long moment, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. She felt both relief and fear, relief that Tiny reached out, fear of what the conversation might bring. Outside, the world kept spinning, kept talking, kept guessing. The fans didn't know these two women were finally about to speak privately for the first time since the chaos began. They didn't know what had been said or left unsaid over the years. They didn't know how tangled the truth really was. But something was shifting. Something real. Something deeper than the rumors. And whether the world was ready or not, the next chapter between Tiny and Shekinah was already unfolding, quietly, privately, away from the noise the internet created. But the question remained. Would this conversation heal the damage, or expose wounds no one knew were still open? When the world finally quieted down, just enough for everyone to catch their breath, one thing became painfully clear: none of this chaos began with truth. It began with assumptions, theories, and a wildfire of imagination that spread faster than anyone could contain. What should have been a private, heartfelt moment for Shekinah turned into a spectacle, and what should have had nothing to do with Tiny or her family became yet another battlefield created by strangers who only saw what they wanted to see. As Tiny and Shekinah stepped back from the noise, the internet kept spinning its own story. People debated, dissected, and demanded answers from women who never owed them any. And maybe that's the real tragedy of it all. The way the public forgets that these are human beings with histories, emotions, and complicated relationships that can't be explained through a trending sound or a 10-second clip. So here's the question we need to ask ourselves. At what point do we stop reacting to rumors and start recognizing the impact our words can have? At what point do we put empathy before entertainment? Because at the end of the day, the truth is rarely found in the loudest theories. It's found in quiet conversations, in the parts of life the internet never sees, in the moments that happen off camera, between people who actually lived the story. And now I want to hear from you. Do you think the internet crossed a line with this one? Did the rumors go too far? Or was this just another example of social media creating a narrative out of thin air? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about it honestly, respectfully, and without adding more fuel to the fire. Because sometimes the biggest drama isn't what's said publicly, it's what gets twisted in the shadows of a story that was never ours to tell.